I'm Zanta.
Yes, are you a Zanta?
I'm not, but I've done a couple of speeches for them.
Oh, lovely. Okay.
Yeah, the one in Fort Worth, it just died. Which is sad.
I was in the marketing because it's so huge.
Yeah.
So service and advocacy was a different unit. So I was with marketing communications unit. So I worked with Catherine, and they're having their North American conference on the 2nd. I might go for that.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Excellent.
Whereabouts states are you at?
Texas.
Yeah. Okay.
South.
When I come, I always head over to Philly.
Yeah.
Because I've got friends there. So Sandi, today you're going to look at emotional intelligence, or what do you have in mind?
I don't know. Whatever you want me to.
I was thinking, since that is like your core area, and that is such a rare find, I think people need to be educated on that. I thought it would be awesome if you speak on emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Because I'm just going to mention it just once, just the, not even the description as much. I'm just going to say, and that lady is going to take it over. And just one slide, we're talking about the iceberg theory. It's what people see. They see your actions, not your intentions.
Right.
That's how important emotional intelligence is. That's all. Then I move on to the rest of my personal branding. So my focus is just personal branding.
Yep.
So I'm going to come up with that little thing.
Okay.
Thanks.
I'm just giving it open.
Yes, sure. I think I should have the other title slide up. The only thing is I gave them everything, your description, everything. But they haven't inserted that in this. I sent it to them yesterday itself. Let me speak to Abhishek. She said that. Can I have your card because I can introduce you?
Yes.
I'd like to do a coffee introduction. So I'll introduce you as Honorable Sandi Michelle, who is speaker author coach, head of founder of AX Leadership Mastery out of US. Hi, Hyundai! Hey, ladies!
How are you?
How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you? Wednesday weekend.
Darling.
Beautiful. Finally.
And we're having this beautiful lady too, Sandi.
Wow.
There. She's going to speak with me tonight.
Wow.
What are you speaking of personal
Ooh,
branding? One of my favorite topics.
Thank you very much. Hi, how are you?
And they were talking about how we should be so late. So we need to tiptoe in.
I think you're early, even.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, it's what time is it?
4:45.
Oh, okay. I actually thought it was 4:30. That's why I thought we were late.
Ah, okay,
Yeah.
4:45. But
Yeah.
I wanted us to be here 4:30.
I know,
So that,
so
yeah,
sweet of
yeah,
you.
I know.
So sweet of you.
I know.
Love and support.
All right.
She's been like, Sandi, she's like, when is it happening? One
You
time.
know.
So sweet. Thank you, love.
Thank you. You look nice.
Thank
I love the dresses you wear.
I love dresses. I love Neil.
Do you have your business cards?
Yes, yes, of course. Do.
And also bring one so that I can put in my office.
This is for you.
Thank you.
Shatter the glass ceiling. Wow, I like this.
Beautiful ones.
Thank you.
How do you pronounce this name?
Senela.
This
Makwaya, is
Makwaya.
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 Yes, Makwaya.
Yeah. So Makwaya.
Oh, we're in Sri Lanka actually. Wow.
Yes.
Makwaya, that's what.
Makwaya is Sri Lanka's #1 training and business consultancy firm. So we do public as well as in-house leadership courses for corporates and individuals.
Okay.
Sri Lanka is #1. We run the most number of public and in-house sessions in Sri Lanka.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And we have, like the WEF forum, we have CEO forum. So we get celebrity CEOs coming in and brainstorming and that kind of thing. We have something called the brand gap. So yeah.
Beautiful.
So under Women Empowered, I've actually networked with quite a few sisters here for online coaching. I want to talk to you about that. Because that's the new game, right? So Punga, you don't need to necessarily come to Sri Lanka. I can bring people to you. And I can, get... Yes, thanks for coming. Yes, we're doing a session.
You started already?
No.
Just waiting for you to come.
Okay, so
So you can pick any side you wish. Welcome. Hello. Thinking?
just trying to.
Hello, how are you? We meet again.
Hello, how are you?
So what do you think about that? That sort of thing. So we can talk about that.
Yeah. So maybe some study.
Did you meet Ricky after that?
Briefly. Can I say that? Oh, yeah, so sorry. Yes.
Say hi, I'm Sandi. Paulina? Philippines, excellent. I have not been there yet, but I have hired many people to the Philippines. Yeah, I've worked at Sabre for years in Texas. A lot of really smart technologists. Yeah, so well, half of them I brought, the other half I kept. So only half.
I'm dying for mentors.
Tomorrow at 11. Yeah, we'll do a little bit here on that.
My name is Bukwe. That's you,
tomorrow.
right? So while I was staring at that picture, I'm trying to decide your last name.
Oh.
It seems Nigerian.
Oh,
It
really?
seems, yes, there's a tribe in Nigeria that has names that sound. So I'm trying to decide what it is. Is she Japanese? Is she Nigerian? Which one is it? How do you pronounce it?
It's Abeynaike. It's a very Sri Lankan Sinhalese because Sri Lanka has 4 different groups.
Okay.
So Jayasuriya is my maiden name,
Right.
and then Abeynaike is my married name.
Hi, I'm Sandi.
Nice to meet you, Sandi. I'm Bukwe.
Bukwe?
Yes.
That's beautiful. Where are you from?
Originally from Cameroon, but now in the USA.
Where in the U.S.?
Upstate New York.
Cold. It's a little colder than...
Yeah. We do get cold. We are notorious for that.
It's too cold for Texas.
Oh, yes, in Texas.
Yes.
Big steaks.
Yes.
Huge roads.
Everything's big.
Yeah. You guys like to have a good time.
That's right. We do. We have our own country down there.
You definitely do. And I have a couple of friends in Texas. I've been there once.
Huge city.
I'm trying to remember the name so long.
Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio. Those are the big ones. Dallas, Fort Worth. Fort Worth. That's where I'm from, really, is Fort Worth.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, so I was there. For a few days.
Yeah. What did you think?
Well,
Did you go downtown?
no, I didn't because I actually went for a retreat, so it was more of a quiet thing. But I'd love to visit it again. That's for sure.
Yeah. I like
So
it.
what are you doing here? I know that you probably came to speak. But
Yeah, she asked me to come talk about emotional intelligence. That's my thing. I focus on emotional intelligence and leadership. So I'm going to talk a little bit about it today. Tomorrow at 11 is my big speech.
okay, because you're
Yeah, she said they just haven't put it up there. So so I'm a teaser.
right.
Yeah. Come in, come in. I know I've seen you many times. I'm Sandy.
Hi, I'm Akanksha.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Come have a seat.
It's for my own.
Excellent. Have you already done your speech?
Yeah.
How did it go?
It went well.
Good.
Yeah.
What did you talk about?
I talked about basically the breaking the barriers.
Hello, welcome. How are you? Vicky. Hi, Vicky. I've seen
And everybody will come in.
Perfect. Thank you for bringing them in. I appreciate it. Come have a seat.
Yeah, I was telling you something. Yeah.
What? Yes.
I broke even breaking the barriers. So I talk about basically breaking the barriers in learning, which I had, and now the children are also having.
Yeah.
And I help them to break those barriers, particularly in maths,
Yeah.
science, and social studies.
Fantastic.
And how did I have the barriers is that
Let's just start.
let's start.
Say your name again.
Akanksha.
Yeah. All right. Good. Thank you.
Let's just start. Let me just start. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Can we get some notepads for them?
I'll just get to know why.
Please. She said they were going to do a lot of self-reflections.
Good evening. Let's just start this session on personal branding. Shatter your limits. Let me welcome Senela, and Sandi. Oh, thank God I pronounced it correct. Now I hand over to you.
Thank you so much. So what a huge auditorium. All right, so since we're a small group today, just
Two more just coming.
so do I need? Just wondering, do I need the mic or should I just talk?
You can just
Oh, okay, so I need this.
No, but
Okay.
this is left.
Right. Okay, so good evening, sisters and brand enthusiasts and personal brand strategists. And Hungai, my sister. So today we're going to talk about personal branding, but a lot of the idea behind what it is has already been covered over other sessions, but today I'm going to very specifically look at how to come up with a sort of personal brand plan, sort of like a roadmap. So it gets a little bit more tactical with this session. So I developed a quick presentation for you. Okay, here we go. I'm going to cover as much as I can during this very short time that I have. Generally, I'm very savvy with doing, full day sessions and you name it, like the boot camp stuff. So today, within this time frame, Sandi and I are going to drill this for you as best as we can. So very quickly, when you see this image, what do you see? What comes into your mind very quickly? Who is this lady? She is? Okay, so what are some words that come into your mind when you think of her?
Actress.
Actress, okay. Singer, okay. What else? Sexy. And? Little bold, kind of rebellious, okay. What comes into your mind when you see this dude over there? Who is he? Thinker, strategist, maverick. He likes to reinvent things. What about this pretty thing here?
Beautiful.
Fun-loving, beautiful. She is, in my opinion, the world's #1 PR agent. She's fabulous, this lady. She's, all about public relations. Alright, so, a little challenge here. Did you know that on average,
each of us generate approximately 25,000 to 50,000 thoughts a day. If you do the math, it's approximately 2 thoughts every minute. Crazy, right? Yeah, but the clock is ticking. So now ladies, tell me, what do you see over here? What do you see?
2 faces.
Okay, how many say 2 faces? Raise your hand. Okay, anything else?
A vase.
How many see a vase?
Oh, yeah.
Both.
Okay.
Both the faces and the vase.
Both the faces and the vase. Alright. What do you see here?
A man with a pipe up pipe.
How many see a man with a pipe?
Yeah.
Alright.
And a woman.
And a woman. Okay,
I see
okay.
a woodpecker. I see a woodpecker who's just punching in the.
Okay, yeah, okay. Creative thinking. Okay, how many logs do you see? 3 or 4?
3.
Okay, over here, what is this? What do you?
4.
Okay.
A woman.
And then over here. Describe the woman.
She's wearing a headgear.
Okay. Give me age.
Feather on the head.
Give me age.
22, 24, a young girl.
20 to 24. Okay, how many say it's a young girl? Anything else? How many see the old woman? Her nose, her chin, and the hat, her eyelashes. It's an old woman. What am I trying to tell you? Same speaker, same venue. What's going on? This is the world we live in. Diverse perception. So personal branding is all about alignment. So what is somebody's perspective about? It's based on their individual thoughts, feelings, and experiences. So a culmination of this. So the world, whether we like it or not, operates in specific stereotypes, whether we like it or not. Oh, she dresses in a particular way, she belongs to that shoebox. Okay, this guy, he talks to me like this, hence is this. So we got to be aware of this. Okay, now, I want to take your attention to this. This is very important. You've heard of the Iceberg Theory.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? So this is how I like to perceive this. Let me explain how I see this. Now, this is the iceberg. This is what brought destruction to the beautiful love story of the couple in Titanic. Just when we thought they were going to get married and have a family, right? Jack and Kate. So, in life, under the ocean, this is who you are. Let's have a look. 90% of your identity is to do with your interests, your needs, desires. Who knows that? Only you actually know that. Check this out. So beneath the surface, the world does not get to see, ladies and gentlemen, how you perceive yourself, your intentions, your needs, your wants, your intentions. What drives you? Does the world see it? Yes or no? Does your employer see it? No. Do your business partners see it? No. Heck no. Who knows this? It is just yourself. Alright, let's have a look at this. So what goes on in the 90% of who you are, your insecurities, your fears, your raw emotion. Say you're having so many insecurities in your life, but what reflects upstairs is your superiority complex. That's what people see. So end of the day, when it comes to personal branding, it's all about, the playing field is projection. So it's all about what you are projecting. People are not so much interested about your intention. They're more interested about your actions, your reactions. Now that is where my colleague Sandi is going to come in. She's going to talk more about emotional intelligence. So what people see, the 10%, this is 90% here. This is all behavioral and your attitude. If you work this right, what surfaces this 10% is actually what determines 90% of how people see you. That 10% to us, what we're projecting, turn it inverted, ladies. That is 90% of what people see in you. So a lot of inside work has to happen here in order to get this part right. So performance, your skills, your knowledge, They don't care about your intention. So if for any leaders here running their own businesses, when it comes to employee performance reviews, do you know why employees remain disgruntled when you talk to them? Why? Because we talk about performance, but they look at it from intentions perspective. Oh, but I didn't mean to make a mistake. I love the company. No, you don't. Look at your performance. You've been slacking. So we've got to include that when it comes to how we empathize with our colleagues.
How can you explain more on this?
About
how the intention is. What do you meant by attention?
okay, example. Say I want to make a cup of tea for my husband, but I'm very stressed. But I pour all my love into that cup of tea and I give it to my husband. And my intention was love. So I go up to him and I give him the cup of tea. But then when I give him the cup of tea, I don't even look at his face. How do I deliver the cup of tea? Here you go. And then he doesn't look at me, I get angry. So what's my reaction? What does he see? Does he see the time and love I put into stirring the sugar cubes into the cup of tea? No. What will he see? How I delivered my service, my action. So that is how people judge us, based on the action, not the
Can I
intention.
say something real quick on that? Most of the time, we judge ourselves on how we intend to do something, but we judge others on how they act. So we give ourselves a lot more slack than.
True, I agree with you.
Because we know the background of the story, it's all in our head. And maybe what somebody is doing, we don't know where it's coming from.
There are two things that I always tell my participants when I speak. In your corporate world or in your personal journey as a leader, there are two V's you need to remember. That is vibration and visibility. Every time you make some sort of vibration or traction in your performance, be it your corporate world or be it your own enterprise, you got to talk about it. You got to make sure people know. Give it visibility. If you don't do that, nobody's going to do that for you. That's very important. So even when it comes to intentions, make sure how you package it. Make it strategic, make it known, and make it effective. So, end of the day, it's half as important how you see yourself. That's not important. The manufacturer of this cookie will tell you this is very expensive. Cost per cookie production is very expensive in my production line. It's a CSR product. But if you don't see value in it, is it effective? No. Do you know what else? What if I okay, question to you. How big is the marketplace? How big is the marketplace? A generic marketplace, how big is it? You tell me it's continent, depends on the product, the sector. What if I tell you the marketplace is approximately on average 6 inches wide? Controversial. 6 inches. 6 inches length. What do I mean by that? The marketplace is something called positioning, which happens inside the mind of the consumer, friends. It's still first inside the consumer. Alright? So that is the kind of complex marketplace we're looking at. So it's not so important how you see yourself, it's more important how others perceive you. So the strategy lies here. So this is the kind of work I'm going to do with you right now. Each of you, I strongly advise, quickly grab your notepads. We're going to get into self-reflections. We're going to be critical, evaluate our strengths, our weaknesses, our gaps, and then we're going to convert those into actionable, time-specific plan. Okay. Let's quickly have a look. Whenever I show this slide in the Women International Day Conference, the girls go crazy. It's pink, it's got a cute dress. So what's important is when people look at you, so they gauge your head knowledge and also how effective you are in taking that to action. So your brand has to be aligned. If you want to project that you are a quality leader, that you are somebody reliable, then everything about you needs to signal that off. You can't say you're reliable and you're a good leader and turn up late for meetings. It is not cohesive. And Warren Buffett says, it takes 20 years to build a first impression. How many seconds to ruin it? 5 seconds. You can finish your reputation. and you don't get a second chance at that. So when it comes to branding, I come from a marketing background, so
Can I ask what is reputation?
Reputation is your credibility. Reputation is your integrity. Reputation is how reliable you are, your accessibility, and if people can trust you. If you break those pillars, you've lost your credibility. People would not want to work with you if they can't trust you. People can admire you, they can respect you, but if you don't have likability, you're not going to have that affinity towards them, that accessibility. I've had bosses I've worked for in big multinationals. I admire them, but I don't like them. Okay, so their brand is kind of limited in my mind. So ultimately, we need to ask ourselves, what is our individual leadership style? So that's a different session, but there are 6 leadership styles. So brand identity, friends, I just want you to make a quick note of this. When it comes to your brand, personal brand, so just draw a little beautiful girl, a princess, right, with a fairy wand, and just write these down. Brand identity. Do you know there's a distinction between brand identity and brand image in marketing? Brand identity is how you see yourself. Number 1. Number 2, brand image. This is how the external stakeholders see you and your business. This is how your staff and you see yourself in your business. That's your identity. Brand image is how your external stakeholders see you. Number 3, brand reach. It's no point having a fabulous product if it's not being exposed. Functional value, utility value happens the more reach you have. Recall. What is recall? If I ask you ladies.
So recall is basically if there is a brand and somebody's heard of it or used the product or something. After a long time, do they still remember the name of the brand or the motto of the brand?
So, for example, if somebody is crossing by and somebody is carrying a fragrance, and whenever you get to have that, so you just is that it's a Gucci or it's
So for me recall is, as I work with children. So for me recall is that if I teach Roman numbers to a child, and I just play with him or her, and they know all of that, and at the later stage in their classroom, the teacher is teaching them the similar thing, and then it is that and if they can remember it, that for me that is recalling.
Good. So if I was to ask just this table right now, quickly name to me the top 3 lipstick brands in the world. Top, quick.
Nike, Puma.
Lipstick. Whoa. Okay, the top 3 brands. Okay, you?
Lakme, Maybelline, and
okay, top 3 handbag brands.
Okay, Gucci, Prada.
Yes, I would do.
Yeah. Okay. Over there?
Gucci, Prada, Versace.
Okay. Now this is what's interesting. If I was to ask you the top 3 toothpaste brands or any brands you interact with, the top 3, maybe most of you, since we are all in the same sort of consumer group demographic, we might get the range right? But the order is not going to be the same. So when it comes to personal branding, you want to be the first name. You want to be the Gucci or the Prada, right? So that is the kind of strategy I'm talking about. So that's recall. So all that together, you get the punchline, which is your reputation. Do people want to keep coming back to you for business? So that's what reputation does for you. It's your brand appeal, right? Okay, so action plan. So these are a few elements in my mind that makes really good sense to have a sort of structured process to this madness, right? So number 1, personal brand definition. So we're going to do a quick SWOT. Secondly, we're going to look at very specific, smart goals, right? We need to convert that, otherwise it's still a concept. Does transformation happen with concept? No. You need to convert concepts into tactical action plans. Number 3, Build an audience of influencers. I call it the personal brand ecosystem. People who inspire me, influencers in my peer group, network with them, connect, leverage. Associate with other people who have already made it for credibility, right? So that talk has been going back and forth at WEF, so there's a lot of opportunities there. Align my social networking profile. I mean, my sister right here, Fungai, she is a queen, a goddess in that area, so you can speak to her. Social media. And activate personal brand interactions, networking, volunteerism. Now look at Sheryl Sandberg. Who is Sheryl Sandberg? Mark Zuckerberg is with his wife and dogs in the house, or he's at work with the creative team. Who's running the show? Sheryl, COO of Facebook. She wrote a book. Did she have to write a book called Lean In? Why did she write that book? Why did she write a women empowerment book called Lean In? Why? Why did she position herself talking at TED Talks? Does she have to know? Mark is paying her really well. I'd love her salary. I can buy a lot of products with her salary. It's all volunteerism. It's about profiling. You're expanding your networks. Your networks take you places you can't go. So it's so crucial. You got to be out there with the people. Mingle with your allies. Okay. Continuous monitoring growth and improvement. Please write these down, ladies, because we're going to do a plan. I marked the word, I've highlighted monitoring. Why is that important? We keep focusing so much about growth and improvement, don't we, Sandi? It's always about, oh, I know, I need to change. But then once the change happens, do we ever actually measure the growth?
No, we don't.
By how much have we grown? Constant monitoring has to happen. That's very important. Permission to move to the next slide? Okay, a few more seconds. Right. Now, this is an adaptation because I love trading on Briggs Meyer, DISC. I go crazy with all this psychoprofiling stuff. Yes. So this is also very useful for DISC profiling. So let's have a look at this. I want you to ask yourself, we've got 4 quadrants over here. We've got known to self, your behavior, feelings, and motivation. What are those things about you known to yourself that is also known to your colleagues, to your spouse? There are some things about my spouse too, so let me quick figure out what they are. Alright? Then what are the things not known to you that is known to your management? That is known to your spouse? That is known to the people you interact with? You think this is not possible? Ladies and gentlemen, that is where friction happens between humans. We think we know everything, but guess what? We don't. We need to be humble enough and close enough to the market to get the information and act on it. Right? So the self-righteous mentality is not going to work for personal branding. What are your blind spots? I want to give you a few seconds here. Number 1. What are the qualities to do with my behavior, my feelings, what drives me, what is known to me, and what is known to others? What is my open product? Right? Number 1. Then quadrant number 2. What is known to me, not known to me, that's known to others? This generally crops up when it comes to performance reviews. Your boss turns around or your partner says, hey, Senela, I don't know how you handled that board meeting the other day. That's not very professional. What? I thought I nailed it. Are you kidding me? So that's a blind spot. Number 3. So this is an area of vulnerability. You need to pay attention. Next, hidden area. This is not known to others, known to self. It could be that you're terrified of public speaking, but you got a fabulous promotion to head national sales in your company. But you're terrified of public speaking. But you probably might not divulge that for strategic reasons. Number 4. Not known to self, not known to others. So, as entrepreneurs, this is vital, super vital. We need to be aware of this. These quadrants, very critical. Okay, so do this self-reflection. So why I bring this slide out is this. I'm speaking to leaders in this room. There is a direct correlation with how we spend the hours in our day with how effective we are in contribution as a leader. always tell us this is how an average human being, be it entrepreneur or a work employee, spends time. Routine tasks, 60%. 60% cooking, sending the fax out, kids to school, yada yada yada. 60% routine tasks happens every day, right? 25% ongoing projects. Those are the things you have to do, whether you like it or not. Those are, say, example, projects could be seasonal. Maybe you're working on a business plan for 3 months, that particular quarter, so it's an ongoing project. 15% is what we human beings assign for planning and development. But growth happens when it comes to the planning and development. So ideally, this is the sort of matrix, this is the sort of time space we need to give. So today, I'm going to force these beauties here to look at the 60% with me. So I'm going to quickly dive into it, okay? So I'm going to ask you a few questions, and I'll give you a few seconds to just ask yourself this. What was the most successful project I ever tackled? And what made it successful? Please answer it to yourself. You can even discuss with each other. I feel like I'm tempted to do an energizer because I see the teacups and the plates on your face.
I was committed and passionate about my teaching.
Fabulous. Committed and passionate. Okay.
I did a work which I made a project which was basically with waste materials.
Oh, fabulous.
So, waste materials like CRT monitors and old keyboards. We made a robot.
That's cool. Well done.
Yeah,
Okay.
We made robot out of that.
So number 2, when faced with an overwhelming obstacle, what's my go-to skill? Do you know? Do you ask yourself this question? Have you thought about it? Number 3, what are the strengths that others acknowledge in me when working with others? So this is the projection part. Remember, this is very important. Do we ask ourselves this? Number 4, what strengths and skills come up over and over again? Senela, you're so good with people. I love that you're into nurturing relationships. You're really good with conflict resolution. You're very, fast on your feet. What are the skills that keep coming over and over again? And what skills do I enjoy using as often as possible, regardless of the task? So these are the strengths. You need to know this, because we are looking at understanding your market differentiation. Now, the strengths, the answers that this beautiful lady will give me, it's going to be different to you. It's going to be different to you. It's going to be different to you. So we are trying to identify your unique value proposition, what you bring to the table. Okay, so make a note of this quickly and moving on to the next one. Here, we are looking at weaknesses. Weakness number 1. What are the things that fear keeps me from trying? Rejection. In public speaking, people are terrified about rejection.
Fear of judgment.
Fear of judgment. So behavioral psychologists they always try to condition by saying, just for a few seconds, imagine if you didn't have fear, what would you do? I ask myself that question. If it comes to a very hard decision, Senela, take all the repercussions out, deduct everything, and just ask yourself, if you did not fear, what would you do? The sky is the limit. Becomes limitless. The sky is so expansive. Ask yourself that question. Next, what weaknesses do others see in me that I'm aware of? Do we ignore this? This is important. When faced with an overwhelming obstacle, what's most likely to cause me to give up? So important. There's a time in my life, I was very selective with my time because I have a 6-year-old. My husband is a cancer, he's an oncologist consultant. He's a Royal Master in London. So I'm like a single mom running the show, the maid, the mom-in-laws, my mom, everything alone at home in Sri Lanka. My husband's been abroad for 2 years. He's an oncologist. So when it comes to overwhelming obstacles and when it comes to expanding my business or my career or my time, I'm always constantly with this question, my daughter. She comes into my face. Oh, I don't want to take that project on. Who's going to look after my daughter? I don't want to do that, but because of my daughter. So those limitations. But sometimes you need to step out of that and really be vulnerable to the family system you have, that ecosystem. I actually put my ego down. I went up to my mother-in-law. Hope she doesn't see it. It's a camera is faced in other directions, so that's fine. But if she sees this, I love you, Mom. I actually had to go to her and say, Auntie, darling, do you think you can help me out with Sari? Can you look after her for a few hours? And I was vulnerable to her opinion, whether she'd think I'm a workaholic. But I made myself vulnerable to that because I created that fear in my own mind. And the end result? She gave me a green light. She was supportive. But the cultural biases that were ingrained in my own mind told me, your mother-in-law is going to get mad at you. Right? So it's the fears that we make in our own mind. You got to try. If you don't ask, you'll never know. What was the least successful project I worked on that tripped me up? What was my stress injection? Where did I mess up? Was it distractions? People coming and asking me, can I tolerate distractions? And as somebody who can multitask. But here's an important statistic for you about multitasking. It's controversial because CEOs don't like this, but CEOs pay people X% to get 300% of that X. Hence, they put into the equation you need to multitask. Sadly for them, research tells me that your productivity reduces by 25% when you multitask. Controversial or not? So don't quote me, that's research. Alright? Okay. Which weaknesses might hold me back from getting where I need to go? Okay, so that's your fear. So what I want you to take back is this. Number one, your value proposition is, I'm telling you, ma'am, you have something I want, I'm coming for you. I need you, right? But unique value proposition, what's going to keep me coming back is that you've got something that she doesn't.
The US.
Exactly. So this is what we need to go for. So this is my plan. This is where I do the conversion. So in branding, we like to describe it like this. There are 3 cages. Me Too offering brands are brands that compete with products that are already in the market. Right? So it could be a biscuit brand that's, tell me a very established brand. Toothpaste, tell me a most established toothpaste. Say Dettol. Lifebuoy is a big brand here, right? Lifebuoy. So Lifebuoy in say it's a market leader for soaps or detergents when it comes to India. So there's this other new dude, a new product that's coming in that uses very similar symbols and branding and gets the marketing out, and then when you see it, you're a Lifebuoy consumer, you kind of think, oh, that is riding on the affinity and your loyalty to Lifebuoy. Why? In your mind it's confusing you, it looks like Lifebuoy. And then you might feel a sense of compulsion to try it because it gives you the same sort of brand appeal. Right? The same sort of brand appeal. So that is what you call a Me Too offering. Example, I'll give you a simple example. Say you're a sales executive. And as a sales executive, any sales executive needs to know how to do a basic sales proposal. But the problem is, to get your job and to retain your job, you need to be able to do a sales proposal. But your promotion happens the minute you do a sales proposal plus something more that your colleagues who are in sales can't do. That is what you call a market challenger. You go beyond that. You go beyond average. In this category, your customer can replace you. You're replaceable. Your employer can replace you. You're replaceable because you're doing the minimum basic standard. The minute you come here, you're doing the minimum plus more. But when you get to this stage in your brand, you are coming out with the leadership position, a thought leader, a new concept. So you're taking the same product, same benefits, but you're revamping the delivery, the concept, the product ideology. You're revamping that. So the minute you get into this level, you start competing. The minute you get to this level, honey, you're influencing, you're driving. Big difference. So what we need to remember as a personal brand, we don't want to stay here. We want to grow. But who's going to help you grow? You need to figure out where you want to go. Nobody else can do that for you. We don't do this. This is important stuff. Okay. So let's move. So what I want you to do here is I want you to write down over the next few quarters, what are the things you're currently doing that are generic in market? I want her because she's in accounts. She's a chartered accountant. I have a market need and I'm going to her. But how does she differentiate herself? Is it her customer service? Is it the strategy, the involvement? What is it? So I want each of you to take this map down and identify, map yourself on this for me. And put very specific timelines for that. Okay, can you do that? Have you got the pencil? How can I differentiate myself to retain the customer, to keep the customer coming? So this is my last slide, and after that I'm going to hand over to Sandi Mitchell. She's going to take you through emotional intelligence. But this is important homework. This is very important. Because we need to first know for ourselves how we perceive ourselves, what is the projection going to be like, and how far I'm willing to stretch. You know, I always told my participants, first thing that I do when they come into the room is, you know what I do? I'm a little naughty, right? I'm generally crazy when I train. I come up to them and I get close, and then I know there's this proximity in body language we teach. It's 1.5 feet is safe. If you get beyond the 1.5 space, it's intimate. People don't like that. And I can read body language very well because that's my core area. So I go up to them and I'm like, are you comfortable? And they'll be like, no. Then I go to somebody else who's like, maybe like looking all sleepy. I'm like, are you comfortable? And that person is like, yes. I'm like, well, that's not very good, is it? Because you know why? As adults, we stop learning after A-levels, to be honest. They're adults, right? The only way to keep people engaged is experiential. You need to make them feel uncomfortable. So what I'm trying to say, the relevancy is if you want a quantum leap, you need to be dabbling in things that expand you. You will never achieve where you want to go as long as you're living inside your comfort zone. You have to realize that. You can only go as far as you want to go, ladies. You can only go as far as you believe and want to go.
Obviously, you were saying that we should get out of our pockets and then face the world alone.
Yes, okay. Get out of your pockets. Yeah. Get your head out into the universe.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to, these are just a few ideas what you can do. Diversify your networks. Network is not a contact sport. And it's not about being interesting. Be interested. In networking, we go to somebody, hey, my name's Senela. Here's my business card. I'm here for a sale. That's not how you network. It's about, oh, Fungai, how are you? What are you up to? Tell me about you. I want to learn about you. It's not about me. That's where we fail in networking. Okay? All right. So with that, what's the story you're telling yourself? And I love this quote. You cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight. So every day, it's the incremental steps that you take every day. That's all you need to do. And you change yourself. You change yourself. And you will never change your life until you change something you do daily. The success is found in your daily routine. So thank you, ladies. And I'll pass it over to Sandi. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Senela. So we heard a lot today about what life is like for your personal brand. So how many of you feel like you've got your personal brand down? I'm ready. I'm good. I know what I'm doing. No. It's, the thing is that you have come to this level that you are in your life because of what you've been able to do, right? You are successful right now because of what you have been able to do. Part of the way you have been able to be successful is your emotional intelligence. How many of you feel like you are supremely emotionally intelligent?
We do try.
Yes, we try. How would you define emotional intelligence?
What is emotional intelligence?
That's a good question. How do you define it?
For me, I think it's the ability to be wise enough to have the wisdom to think in the shoes of the next person.
Okay.
And also be able to determine what your actions are going to do to impact the next person and how your reaction to that person is. So it's a lot about think first before you just... I think that's how I would just define it. To just say,
but
when you're interacting...
But does it really... is it really around the person or around the market, around the entrepreneur thing, where we think that what that company would like I work in school, as I said before also, so I would think that what that school would think about my product. As that school, as that child, I am, and I personally put that child into my shoes.
Okay. So yes. Right. Emotional intelligence is several things. One of them is how do you understand your own emotions?
Yeah.
Right? One of them is how do you understand other people's emotions? The other part is how do you manage your own emotions? And the fourth part is how do you help influence others to manage their emotions? So I do emotional intelligence talks all over the place, and I do a lot of it with primarily men in technology and engineering. So I had one guy come up to me and he said, okay, so really this whole emotional intelligence, I won't say the word that he used.
No, but technology and engineering, you can talk with that also.
Yeah, it's not the way they think. And he said, so basically what you're telling me is that I need to just get rid of all my emotions. I'm like, no. Emotional intelligence is being able to use your emotions in order to better solve problems, make decisions, and connect with people. Right? Emotional intelligence is about communicating to connect, right? So one of the things that I want to talk to you just a few minutes about, there are 15 skills in emotional intelligence. I've got this, I started writing this book, I guess a couple of years ago, because a lot of my guys were telling me that, we understand emotional intelligence, I don't know how to use it. So I started writing this journal around the 15 skills. And about halfway through, that's when the whole coloring book craze started. So this is an emotional intelligence journal and coloring book. So my guys love this. It cracks me up. So in our sessions, I'll have these laid out. So while we're talking, they're coloring. Because I'm kind of a neuroscience geek. And one of the things that happens when you color is that your mind goes into a meditative state, which means you're going further into your emotion, your subconscious, which means you can answer questions better and deeper. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So let me tell you a few of the skills, and since she had you writing things down, I want you to think about how would you rate yourself on these skills. So the first one is self-regard. So self-regard is how you respect yourself, the confidence that you have in yourself. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself
10.
On self-regard? Just Write it down. The next one is self-actualization. So self-actualization, this is where I want to pursue meaning, right? I want to be someone who can improve themselves. I want to be at the top of Maslow's hierarchy, right? I want to be more. So self-actualization, scale of 1 to 10, where you rank yourself. The third one is emotional self-awareness. And this one is how well do you understand your own emotions? Emotional self-awareness. What I find is I do a lot of work around the emotions, and most people, when they are asked how they're feeling, they talk about like 5 or 6 main ones. What are some of the main emotions that people say?
Sadness, happiness.
Sadness, happiness, what else?
Anxiety.
Anger.
And the best part is like you're talking to us and we are in a very happy state of mind. Still, the first word came out was sadness and grief.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Even the conscious mind and the subconscious, still that came because that is always there in us.
Yes.
No, because as a human, we always pick up the negative first.
Yeah, that's also.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah, even though you have a happy life, I do a lot of...
it's a happiness here. We don't, as a woman, we do not have any responsibility apart from sitting and hearing. But still you mentioned the sadness.
Yes, yes.
Right? And as the first thought, what should have been come in our mind was like, okay, adventure.
Should. But the key word there is should. So y'all have got me going in so many different directions. So we have, in neuroscience, they have what they call the ought self. You ought to go do that. Has somebody ever told you, you ought to do this? This is who you ought to marry. This is what you ought to do. This is the job you should have. That's called your ought self. But your ideal self is the one that's authentic, that's true to you. And because we live in a world, in a society, where so many people, media, everything is telling us what we ought to be, and it's not resonating with who we really are, we have this underlying sense of sadness until we can get our personal brand so that there's authenticity, right? So everything is aligned. So we don't have to worry about what the world says we ought to be because we are standing in our truth, because we know where we are. And that's part of where the emotional intelligence comes in, is how do I know what my own emotions are so that I can decide, is this the emotion that is true? Because what happens is that something happens to you, some event occurs, and then an emotion immediately happens. An emotion is basically your interpretation of what's happening. The thought immediately comes through with that, and because of the emotion and the thought, you have an action. It's very difficult to change thoughts. So what you want to do is start thinking about, is this emotion the emotion that feels right to me? If not, if I don't want to feel sadness, you can do one of two things, right? One is why sadness, the first word that comes up, and explore that. The other one is what do I choose instead? Because part of emotional intelligence is choice, right? So many people in this world choose to not choose. And they let all the emotions that people put on them bubble up inside of them. And so they live in this sadness world rather than choosing to be something different. They choose to be victims.
And then the people go into depression because they're doing nothing.
Yeah. And the thing is, the more you choose to live in that victimhood, the harder it is to get out because it literally has little energy in it. Right? So you want that energy bounce, which is part of what emotional intelligence is about, is being able to recognize where am I and what do I want. What do I have? Just a couple minutes?
5 minutes. 6
5?
minutes.
Okay, we'll do this real quick. So those 3 that I gave you were all around your self-perception. What is it that I think about myself? The next one is your self-expression. Okay, we've talked about how we feel about ourselves. The next 3 are about how we express ourselves to others. Right? So the first one is your emotional expression. The important part of the word that I'm going to say here, it's the constructive expression of emotions. It's the constructive part. right? It's being able to speak in the way or show yourself in the way that that people don't build defenses. Like you've got those people that walk in the room and they're either really mad or they're really angry or something's going on and they say something, they bite at you, right? And you immediately put all these defenses up. So being able to be emotionally expressive means you can speak in a way that other people want to collaborate with you. Assertiveness. There was a couple of sessions ago that they talked about assertiveness as being able to communicate your feelings and your beliefs in a non-offensive way. Right? Being able to talk about it in a way that you feel like we can have a curious exchange of ideas. Right? The next one is independence. I love this one because independence is about being self-directed. That whole ought self that we talked about, it's your being able to choose and say, I'm not that interested in being what you think I need to be. And then the third section is about interpersonal. So the interpersonal is how do we work together, right? So this is where most people think emotional intelligence is, just these three. They think it's, so the first one is interpersonal relationships. So how many relationships do you have that are mutually benefiting, right? How many friends do you have? How many loved ones do you have? How much do you reach out to others and it's mutually satisfying? Okay, you've probably all dated those guys that it's not mutually satisfying, right? It's about them. Then the next one, this is the skill that most people think emotional intelligence is this one skill, is empathy. Empathy is being able to understand and appreciate how others are feeling, right? The next one is social responsibility. I love this one, and we talk about this a lot in this in the WEF, right? Is how are we building our social consciousness? How are we being helpful to others? Now, this is the one that most of my guys love. This next group is around decision making. And people don't think about decision making as being part of emotional intelligence, but it's huge. Because you think about the people who come in and they either take their emotions out of decision making or their decisions are fully blown emotion. Right? Have you ever made a decision just because of you're emotional? They're usually not the best decisions, right? So the first one is problem solving. Being able to solve problems utilizing your emotions in the right way. The next one's reality testing. My favorite thing on reality testing, and this is one of the things that she talked about, that Senela talked about, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, how true is it? Because we get those little inner critic voices going in our heads, and emotions start bubbling up, and we've totally made it up ourselves. We made up the fear or the anger or the story. Have you ever woken up from a dream and where your husband did something really wrong in the dream, and when you wake up, you're mad at him? Right? How true is it? And the last one on decision making is impulse control.
What control?
Impulse control. Being able to resist or delay the impulse to act. All right, this is huge for people, especially in today's world.
Yeah,
I feel like
drink a glass of cold water and then
walk away, right? Take a breath, do something. I feel like that thin layer of civility is getting thinner. And then the last three are all around stress management. The first one is flexibility. So you think about when you're stressed, if you have the flexibility, the resilience, right, to be able to adapt your thoughts, your emotions, and your behaviors to the situation, instead of being very rigid in your beliefs, if I can adapt a little bit, then we can start to have more communication. The next one is your stress tolerance. How are you able to cope with stressful situations? Do you just absorb them? Do you let them run off your back? Are you flexible in them? And then the last one, and I love this one, is optimism. What's your attitude in life? Because your optimism really plays a lot into how your emotional intelligence is. So emotional intelligence, we're going to go into this a lot more tomorrow at 11 if you're interested in finding out more. Yeah. So we've just barely touched the surface on this, but emotional intelligence is such a vital part to your personal brand because it's the part that you portray out to others. Exactly. All right. Thank you.
Are there any questions before we close? We're on time, so the plane has landed, but before we step out of the plane, we're at the door and we're our hostess. Yes?
She was first.
Oh, okay, I love how you went. Teamwork. Me, teamwork. Loved it. Yes?
So I have a question about emotional intelligence that you were referring to. So when it comes to taking decisions, there are two ways of looking at it. One is when you're taking a decision thinking about the practicality of things, that according to what is practical, this is what is right or wrong. But at the same time, when you think of the same thing from an emotional perspective, the decision could be completely wrong or opposite. So how do you deal with that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think the big part of that is being able to, how do you mesh the two? Right? Because if you totally take the emotions out, you are losing half of the capability of creating a creative solution. We are emotional beings, right? Then if you just go from the emotional perspective and not the logical perspective, then you are totally losing out on some of the steps and the logical reasoning that we need to make sure. So it's being able to, so we talk about diversity a lot, right? So that, the diversity of both logical and emotional in the same decision is what helps make the creative decision even stronger. It's being able to use both. So it's minimizing the emotions to the point where you're using them and not them using you.
How do you develop, children? They have varied emotions. They get angry, they get annoyed, a lot of emotions. How do you channelize, like a lot of people focus on IQ, intelligent quotient, but nowadays, even in schools, kids are being focused on the emotional intelligence because that's the way. So as parents, I'm talking as a mother, how do I focus on my child so that, his emotional intelligence is being developed and his emotions are well taken care of, and when he grows up, he's, he doesn't need personal branding sessions like I am required to, he's already being, it is already being taken care of. So how do we do with kids?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's important, this is true in the U.S. I don't know if this is true in India or other countries. In the U.S., we tend to grow boys up saying, boys don't cry, stuff it in, girls, you cry, you get it all out. Is that true in your countries?
Stereotyping. We do that. Yes, we do that here.
Yeah, so we as mothers can absolutely have a huge impact on that. Now, one of the things that I have found is that some mothers who allow their boys to cry and get it out, they are stereotyped by other mothers, right? And the other children are mean, really. But what I think is if you can help them recognize that emotions are natural, right? But they don't have to live their life based on just the emotion they're feeling. So being able to connect both the emotion and the thought. So when the kid is going crazy screaming, right, then what I like to do, because sometimes my techies, they may not be screaming out loud, but you could tell that they're biting and they're really, it's like they're throwing a temper tantrum, but they're adults. So what I always do is I ask them a question that forces them to get to the frontal part of their brain. So it's any kind of logical question. So on a scale of 1 to 10, really, how bad is this? Right? Because when you start asking number questions or logic questions, it takes it out of the amygdala, which is the emotion part, into the executive brain, which says, okay, wait a minute, I can take a breath, I can reduce the emotions a little bit, I can increase the logic so there's a balance. Then I can figure out how to do it. So they don't work on either.
Because although my son is only 4 years of age, he's only 4 years old, and whenever he throws a tantrum, like he doesn't want to eat food, so that's the way I ask him questions. Okay, you're not hungry. Are you thirsty? And he's just for a minute, he's just quiet. And maybe he's thinking, I'm just assuming, maybe he's just thinking. I'll ask him, do you want to drink milk? Do you want to play? And he'll be like, no, let's eat food. So that has happened with me. If I ask him a logical question, I don't think so that's logical or not, but whenever I ask him a question, when he's running around and he's shouting and he's howling at times,
so you're diverting the thought process, basically. Changing
You're getting it out of the emotional world.
Right. You're getting it out.
And at times, like a second example with little kids, is when he doesn't want to sleep and I'm too sleepy and I want him to sleep and at times I feel I can just tie him up and just put him in bed. But then what I did, I asked him to tell me a story.
Yes.
And he started telling me stories in the night. And that is how he is getting tired and he sleeps faster. And then I also sleep. So all the stories what I tell him, he mixes them all and gives me a new story. But that's helping. So, okay, fine. I'm right track.
I just want to add to that. In emotional intelligence, something that I also research is that you have to just push pause. I think even Stephen Covey, he tells us in his books to be a very successful person. One of the habits is push the pause button. Because there is a huge difference between responding and reacting.
Wonderful.
What we do is we react. And the more adult we become, we react faster. Like you said, your baby boy, he takes time. If it's me, that's true. So press pause and respond. Because a repercussion, you can't erase it with the eraser. You have already created
Lose your reputation in 5 seconds, right?
Right. I just want to ask one question. In jewelry window, blind spot. Okay. So, how frequently you need to ask or check your blind spot? And I know some of them, and some of if you're holding a position in a corporate, so you get to hear some of your blind spot people talk about it. So, what is your advice on that?
I mean, if you're in the corporate sector, it's an automatic process because the evaluations happen biannually and annually.
No,
so you're exposed to it.
During the PMS process,
Exactly.
peer and all that. I'm talking about overall process as a woman and how we...
What I do is this. I learn from anybody. When I go into a room and if I meet somebody and I look at what they're mirroring back to me, because I have a very strong energy, I've understood that sometimes I go up to somebody and talk with my enthusiasm, but then that person feels intimidated sometimes. For me, that's a blind spot. But the only reason I figure out my blind spot, that's a weakness, is because it's reflected in that person's behavior towards me. Even that is a passive mechanism of identifying your weaknesses. Why? Because people are reflecting it to you. So that is a very unofficial, very informal sort of way of doing it. Another thing I do is, I always tend to ask my spouse, because they say the people you live with know you the best. So I ask my spouse, I ask even say, if you have any colleagues you work with very closely who know you deeply, you can check with them. In terms of frequency, if you feel that you're getting into stressful situations and you feel your emotional control is going all over the place, then you need to know, hey, I need to ask myself, take a step back and see, is this project really taking over me? Or whether I'm just not being able to, pace with that. So I think it's situational. Situationally, if you feel that you're a little caught in something, you can always do a sort of a reality check. And like she said, you can put a number to it and see, am I reacting or responding? So it's a very situational based evaluation you can do as well. But I would recommend you do this as much as you can. A lot of the times what happens to us is, when something happens, when we spill milk, that's when we know we have a blind spot. It's very hard to preempt these things. But if we are very gentle, and if we're sensitized to how people respond to us, what they're reflecting back in how we communicate and how we deal with things, that is also a very good indication for us.
You can also give someone permission to tell you about your blind spots, right? And I typically use those words. Listen, I want to give you permission to tell me if you see something that is impacting the way I am approaching others. Because I need to be able to make sure that I continue to rise in my career. So it's important to me to know my blind spots. Yes.
Thank you very much, both of you. To answer you with my little knowledge, one tool that I found useful in closing the gap with the drawing is connecting the personality test as well as psychometric test. The day I was exposed when I was still working, I was tasked to take the psychometric test. And before I thought, yes, I'm going to get them right because I compared myself with other people. Unfortunately, I was the last. So it also gave me that knowledge which other people, maybe the way other people see me, these are that side of you that you don't know. In psychometric tests and personality tests, they are scientific, the majority of them are scientific ways of telling you what you are. So, although they may not give 100%, but they can give you an indication of who you are, and you try to close that gap. Thank you.
That's wonderful.
These are the tests most of the time because I know I'm taking the test. I feel it. Because I know that when I'm taking this test.
Yes. Personally, for me, the Briggs-Meyer has been fabulous. I've used Briggs-Meyer to go very in-depth into my personality. And then at a work level, the DISC assessment has helped me too. It tells me, this and this. So DISC is very good if you want to know how you operate in a work situation. But the Briggs-Meyer is really good if you want to go very in-depth into, your blind spots with relationships, this, that. So, yes, any final comments before we close?
Yeah, and a lot of those assessments, if you type them into Google and say free, so you can say Myers-Briggs free, and they'll give you a version of it.
Okay. Thank you, Sandi. Thank you, Senela. All of these facts were very interesting, and I personally would like to connect with you because I may take some things from you, but I would really like to take many other things from all of us. So thank you everyone, and let's join for another session wherever you.
I'd love to take a group photo before we.
Yes.
Love that.
Thank you. Can I ask you to? Thank you.
इधर ही दे दो मैम वो कैमरे से खींचो
मैंने तुम्हारा काम किया चालू किया
थैंक यू मैडम
तो बंद करके चले गए
अरे मैम टाइमिंग ओपन नहीं पता होती ना दोनों साइड तुम्हारा काम सही में चलाया तो आपके तो हाँ पता है मुझे मैम
Smart. Are we sad? Emotionally intelligent. Did you take the tattoo? The tattoo, please. Smile.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
This one for Pauline.
These people might. That one's mine. No, this one. Yes, ma'am.
But I'm Indian.
Her topic is how to create a movement around your great work. So please welcome Sapnani.
Namaste. I welcome you all to this lovely topic, which is really very deep to my heart. I will take you through my own journey of first losing myself and then finding myself. You know, we in India have
वो उसमें ही हो रहा है। मैंने तो कार्ड ही चेंज किया अभी, मैंने तो कुछ नहीं। Yes, ma'am.
she's from
गुरप्रीत was doing CM. हाँ.
डाल दिया अपने को से लिखना है, डिलीट करना है, डिलीट कर लो। अब गया दौड़ते दौड़ते तुझे भी